Hey, welcome. Today we're diving into something that affects all of us, why our brains are practically hardwired to fall for false information, and maybe more importantly, what we can actually do about it. It's a journey into the wild, confusing maze of modern information, and it all kicks off with a question that's a lot trickier than it sounds.
Seriously, think about that for a second. If you share something that isn't true, but you genuinely believe it is, does your intention even matter? We're going to come back to this, but trust me, the answer is the key to unlocking the entire information mess we find ourselves in today.
So, to even begin to get our heads around that question about intent, we got to get way more specific than just throwing around the term fake news. Let's be honest, it's become this lazy catch-all phrase that just lumps everything together. To really understand the problem, we need to decode the different flavors of what some people call information disorder.
Okay, so check this out. It really all boils down to two simple questions. Is it false? And is it meant to cause harm? First, you have misinformation. That's an honest mistake. It's false, but the person sharing it thinks they're helping. Then, there's disinformation. This is the nasty stuff. It's a deliberate lie, specifically created to deceive you and cause damage. And then, you've got malinformation. This one's tricky. It's when real information, like someone's private emails or an old embarrassing photo, is weaponized to hurt them. The key takeaway here? You can't fight all of these the same way. And we absolutely need to fight them. Because this isn't just some abstract academic debate. No, these distinctions matter because the consequences of our polluted information stream are real, they are tangible, and frankly, they can be incredibly severe.
I mean, the stakes are terrifyingly high. In public health, it's not just a difference of opinion, it can literally be life and death. It can fuel things like vaccine hesitancy or promote dangerous fake cures. When it comes to democracy, it eats away at the very foundation of trust that holds our society together. And in the most extreme cases, it can directly incite violence, mobs, and persecution. This is a stark reminder. What happens online does not stay online.
So, if the fallout is so bad, why are we all so susceptible to this stuff? The honest truth is, every single one of us is vulnerable. It's this dangerous cocktail, you know? It's a mix of our own psychological quirks and the very design of the digital platforms we use every single day.
Let's start with the software that's running in our own heads. Our brains, they're designed for survival, not for doing rigorous second-by-second fact-checking. To get through the day, they use all these little mental shortcuts. Psychologists call them cognitive biases. And these shortcuts are really useful, but they can also be hijacked.
And here are two of the biggest culprits. First up, you've got confirmation bias. Basically, you are wired to look for and believe stuff that confirms what you already think is true. And then there's the illusory truth effect. This one's wild. The more you hear something, even if it's a total lie, the more familiar and true it starts to feel in your brain. Now, just imagine those two forces working together in your social media feed. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, what happens is our natural biases get put on steroids by technology. The algorithms on these platforms, they're built for one thing, engagement. And it turns out that shocking, emotional, and often false content gets a ton of engagement, so the algorithm pushes it. This creates these echo chambers where you only hear what you agree with. It makes sharing instant and thoughtless, and it lets bot networks amplify a message until it looks like way more people believe it than actually do. The whole system is basically designed to exploit our psychology.
Okay, so that's the problem. And I know it can feel a little overwhelming, right? But here's the good news. You are not powerless in this equation. Not at all. So let's pivot from the problem to the solution and start building our very own misinformation first aid kit. You know, the single most powerful weapon you have in this fight isn't some complex software or expensive tool. It's a simple 4-step habit. It was developed by a digital literacy expert named Mike Caulfield, and it's called SIFT. It's what professional fact-checkers do almost without thinking. Here it is. First, and I'm telling you, this is the most critical step of all, just stop. Especially when a post makes you feel a strong emotion, like outrage or surprise, or even that, I knew it feeling. That's your brain's alarm bell going off. That's your cue to pause before you believe it, or even more importantly, before you share it. Second, investigate the source. Who is this? Is it a real news outlet or some random blog you've never heard of? Third, find better coverage. It's as simple as opening a new tab and seeing what other, more trusted sources are saying about it. And fourth, trace the claim or the quote or the photo back to its original context. Has it been twisted or manipulated?
And when you're doing those investigate and find steps, you have some powerful allies.
You can go check what professional fact-checkers like Snopes or PolitiFact have to say. You can use a reverse image search to see if that crazy viral photo is actually from today or if it's from a different event 5 years ago. You can even use the Wayback Machine to travel back in time and see what a website used to look like. These are basically your digital superpowers.
So, we have our personal toolkit, and that's great. But this problem is bigger than just us as individuals, right? We are all part of this massive information ecosystem, and that forces us to zoom out and ask some really tough questions about who's responsible for keeping it clean.
And this brings us to one of the most difficult, most debated questions of our time. In the Wild West of the internet, who gets to be the referee? How do these huge platforms balance the ideal of free speech with the very real need to prevent real-world harm? Let me tell you, there are no easy answers here.
The platforms, they have a few tools they can use, but as you can see, every single one of them is a trade-off. Let's just look at a couple to see how thorny this gets. So labeling content seems like a good idea, right? Just add a little warning. But sometimes that warning label actually makes the content more appealing. It's like forbidden fruit. That's called the backfire effect. Or what about just quietly reducing a post's reach so fewer people see it? Well, that avoids accusations of censorship, but it's usually done with zero transparency, which leads to people crying shadow ban. It is an absolute minefield, and there's no clear path through it.
So what's the North Star in all this chaos? Well, a lot of experts believe in this core idea. The best way to fight bad information isn't to silence it, but to drown it out with good, credible information. It's kind of like fighting a fire with water, not by trying to suck all the oxygen out of the room. It's about empowering people, not restricting them.
And you know, that brings everything right back to you. Because the algorithms, the platforms, the bad actors out there, they're really only half of the story. You are the other half. So the final question I want to leave you with is this. In this endless flood of information we all live in, are you going to be a passive consumer, just letting that tide wash over you? Or are you going to be a critical citizen, actively helping build a healthier, more truthful world for everyone? The choice really is ours.